Overthinking, stress, anxiety. It's unfortunate that these have become an integral part of our lives. We get stuck in a loop of negative thoughts which we can't seem to shake off. In this video, we had discussed what is overthinking, what are its origins, and how it can send us down a negative spiral. I have put the link in the description in case you missed that one. We also discussed the 3 key factors influencing it. We know that amongst those 3, our mental models are the ones we can take control of to manage stress and anxiety. Now, let's go deeper into this and understand some tools and technique that can help us take charge of our mental models, our self-talk, and our perception of things. This in turn will help us cope better with stress, anxiety, and overthinking. I have been a perennial overthinker. I was often stressed out and had a tendency to worry a lot. My friends, family, and colleagues would tell me, "Take a break, just relax." They meant well, they were trying to help me. But did it really help? I even took the advice and went on a relaxing holiday for a week. While I was sitting at the beach, I was still ruminating about all that I have to face once I get back. While sitting there, all I could think of was the scenarios that would play out. What would I do? How will I tackle those? I was told to take a break, and I was doing that. I was trying to keep my mind away from the things that cause stressful thoughts. But the problem was, I had absolutely no clue how to de-stress. The irony here was that the more I tried to take my mind away from the stressful thoughts and worries, my mind seemed to make me even more focused on those. And that is why it didn't seem to work for me. It seemed impossible to get rid of those thoughts. Taking a break is good. Going on a relaxing vacation is great. But it may not always work for overthinkers. It may help someone who just needs some time off to relax. But for overthinkers, it might not be enough. I had to approach it from a different perspective. I really had to understand what was it that was going on in my head. Understand what made me overthink and feel stressed. I needed to develop awareness. This is a mighty step forward. It all starts with awareness. There's a subtle difference between being aware of a situation and being anxious about it. When you are aware, you know it exists, and what are your thoughts about it? You are still and calm. You are not judging it. You are not getting attached to it or resisting it. You are just watching it as an outsider. But if you get anxious, then you are getting carried away. You are emotional. You are getting attached to it. You are fighting it, resisting it. So, for me, the solution was not to avoid the thought completely, because the very thought of avoidance made my mind focus even more on that. The right approach for me was to let the thoughts come in. But instead of fighting them, just acknowledge and look at those thoughts as an outsider. It's like watching a movie or reading a story where you see what is happening. You just observe. You are not anxious. You are not emotionally absorbed into it. I know it's easier said than done. It needs practice. Just like you strengthen your muscles in a gym day after day, similarly, when you practice mindfulness, you strengthen your mental muscles to be able to see and observe thoughts in a neutral way. Just like you do not build muscles in a gym overnight, it takes some time to develop the practice of being aware of your thoughts without getting pulled into those. Just observe your thoughts. This is called meta thinking. Our brain is capable of having thoughts about our thoughts. So, even though these thoughts are inside your head, you can think about them as if they are something outside that you can see and notice. Let's take an example. Suppose you had a bad day at work. Then if you are anxious, your thought process will work like this. "Oh God, why did this happen to me? I'm not good enough. They always find faults with my work. No one appreciates me. Why am I like this? Why does this always happen to me? But if you are in a state of awareness, your inner dialogue will go like this. I'm very disturbed right now. I'm having so many thoughts. Like my mind is racing. The thoughts are just coming one by one, one by one. I'm not feeling good. My heart is racing. I'm feeling anger and frustration as well. Yes. I'm unable to find a solution, but these thoughts are just coming. They just keep coming. Yes. The thoughts are coming. Lots and lots of thoughts are coming. So you see, you notice your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. This is awareness. You are not avoiding anything. You are not getting attached to anything. You just see it as it is. You are aware without getting anxious. Notice that here we are not talking about completely avoiding all the stress, being without stress. That's just impossible. We are just talking about being aware without any attachment. Once you are able to do this, then it opens up new possibilities. Now you are in a position to choose what to do next. Instead of getting carried away, you are now sitting in the driver's seat. So, now that you are aware of what's going on in your head, let's see what can you do about it. What are your options? That brings us to the 4 A's of stress management, which in turn will help us tackle overthinking. This technique was proposed by Mayo Clinic and is used extensively by doctors, therapists, coaches. There are 4 options in front of you: avoid, alter, accept, and adapt. The first thing we can do is to avoid the situation. This sounds too simple to be really effective, isn't it? But if we really see, there are a lot of stresses in life that we can simply walk away from. We can't control everything in life, but in some cases, we can arrange our circumstances so that we don't have to be in stressful surroundings or with stressful people. When you avoid stress, you are not running away from obligations or denying genuine problems. You are just learning to say no to stress that is unnecessary and harmful. If you can't avoid it, you may need to find ways to change the situation or alter it. If you are stressed about a multitude of deliverables that are expected of you within a week, then there may be a way out by discussing with superiors if you could deliver that in batches or come up with a priority order. Talking to people and negotiating can help you alter the situation and reduce the burden. It might not always work, but it is worth the try rather than suffering in silence. Similarly, if you don't communicate to your friend that their insensitive jokes are causing you distress, you may continue to endure their impact indefinitely. Hence, it's worth attempting to express your feeling. Tell him or her how you feel and request them to stop. If you can't avoid a stressor, then ask yourself, can you alter it? If the answer is no or not much, then you have to go a step further and accept it. The question is, how can we come to terms with a situation that we find unpleasant? The initial step is to acknowledge that if we don't like it, we simply don't like it. Acceptance does not require us to suppress our emotions. Rather, it involves accepting and acknowledging our feelings as valid. Suppose you were terminated from your job despite your best efforts, and now there seems to be little you can do to change the situation. In such cases, it may be necessary to focus on accepting what has happened. If the circumstances leading to your termination were unjust and you feel wronged, then acceptance may require you to consider forgiveness. It's important to remember that forgiveness is a personal choice that benefits you, not the other party, whether it's your boss or company. By forgiving, you are freeing yourself from the burden of resentment and blame, which can otherwise drain your energy and cause undue stress. Accepting something doesn't mean we like it or agree with it, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to change it. It means we recognize what we can't change and we focus on what we can do instead. When dealing with stress in the long run, it's important to try and adapt. This involves making some significant changes to our way of thinking, our goals, and our expectation. For example, let's say someone is a perfectionist and is constantly stressed out because they never feel like they meet their high standard. Instead of trying to be perfect all the time, it might be more helpful for them to adjust their expectations and make them more realistic. This way, they can focus on what they can achieve and won't feel like they are falling short. Adapting to stress means changing ourselves to better deal with life's challenges. It's like building up our own strength and resilience. For instance, some people like to make a daily gratitude list of things they are thankful for. Others like to meditate. Some like to do chanting, and so on. These habits remind them that they are strong and are capable of overcoming obstacles. When we have a variety of powerful attitudes, ideas, and inspiration, we can tackle stress with confidence and become better people in the process. It's all about finding what works for us and building a strong foundation to handle whatever life throws at us. These are the 4 A's of managing stress. Whenever you feel stressed or anxious, take a moment to go through each step. Remember, no matter how tough the situation may seem, there's always a way to approach it mindfully, with awareness and purpose. Let's go through a situation and put all this in perspective. Say, you have a coworker who stresses you out. Instead of feeling overwhelmed that there's nothing you can do, ask yourself if there's a way to avoid the person. Maybe you can eat lunch at a different time or work in a different area to avoid bumping into them. But let's say you can't avoid seeing them in meetings where they often interrupt you and take credit for your work. Think of ways you can alter the situation. Can you skip these meetings or find a way to avoid them? Can you talk to your colleague privately and express your concerns? Can you set stronger boundaries when speaking in meetings? If none of these options work, you can still accept the situation in some way. You could talk to a close friend about your feelings of frustration or realize that your colleague interrupts everyone and it's not just you. This can help you not to take it personally or let it stress you out. Lastly, you can make some changes to become more confident and assertive by developing the belief that you have just as much right to speak as anyone else. You may develop that confidence to say, "Excuse me, I'm not finished speaking," and calmly continue your point. Please do try the 4 A's to reduce your stress and anxiety, which in turn will help you reduce your overthinking. Please do share your experiences with me in the comments below. Don't forget to check out this video where we discuss another powerful technique to deal with stress, anxiety, and overthinking. Thanks a lot for watching, and do subscribe to the channel for more videos on building a healthy mind, body, and soul.